This video is brought to you by Iona, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, Iona is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Yes, big day, new Nissan Leaf. As someone who owns 3 or 4 Nissan Leafs, I haven't told you about my 4th one yet. Pretty exciting that there's a new generation. Now, some of our Nissan Leafs that we have are like old school, really, great on the cheap secondary market. But the new Leaf is going to be, I think, a super great upgrade over the previous generation. I'll explain why. I'm really thrilled with the updates on this. And I really hope, a very affordable price, especially on a lease, but for a new purchase as well. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through potentially what is the best new entry-level electric car in our market. At least I'll leave that determination up to you. It's got some cool stuff here. We've got a NACS charging port. We have manual and automatic battery preconditioning. We have route planning now. They've totally got the EV stuff down. And I think that's a huge step forward for Nissan in general in figuring out what their customers have been wanting. What I've been wanting out of our Leafs for so long. So anyway, join me for a full tour of the new 2026 Nissan Leaf. I'd like to thank CCAN Action Fund for sponsoring this video. Guys, we have an awesome opportunity to help get you into a new electric car. That is because it is CCAN Action Fund's 7th electric vehicle raffle. And if you go to the link in the description below and enter to win, each ticket gives you 3 chances to win an electric car. And the first place prize is absolutely insane. You can choose between a Porsche Taycan or Macan EV, or a Lucid Air or Gravity, or a Rivian R1S or R1T. Absolutely amazing electric vehicles. But there's also a second place prize, which I absolutely love. There is a Volkswagen ID Buzz or Ioniq 5 choice that you could go for. And for the first time in any of their electric vehicle giveaways, they have a third place opportunity, which would be a Chevy Equinox EV. All you have to do, like I mentioned, is visit the link below. Not only are you entering for a chance to win an electric car, you're also supporting a great cause fighting for a cleaner environment. Thanks to CCAN Action Fund for sponsoring this video. Has it really gotten to the point that I am absolutely thrilled to be presenting to you the new Nissan Leaf? Well, yes, I'm a nerd. The Leaf was one of the first mass-produced electric cars ever, and I think it really is such a pivotal car for the electric transformation. And it represents cheap, reliable mobility. I say reliable mobility, even though ours bricked and we had to get a new one. If you guys remember that, I'll leave that video down below. The new one we just bought, and actually my friends just bricked as well. This car has no relation to the outgoing Nissan Leaf. Honestly, a great thing. That car was outdated. The second generation car was a iteration on the first generation, and this is a ground up new vehicle. It's built on CMF EV, which is very similar to Aria and the Megane E-Tech, which we've also had videos on both of those cars. But I would say even better because it's got the next generation of software in here that actually does some cool things. And it totally has, I think, a cool look. This is the top spec model, which has these neat 3D taillights. Check that out. They're doing this whole 2-3 thing. It's always been a theme with Nissan because 2 means ni in Japanese and san is 3. I don't know. I'm sure everyone else will explain that better than I can when you watch all the other car reviewers doing their stuff. But in general, just, a huge departure from the previous car. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through all the nerd stuff that you guys are wondering. Thermal management. I can explain the cooling loops. I'm going to show you the software, the room, the storage space. And yeah, I guess let's start off with the visuals first before we nerd out on the battery stuff. Trust me, I got all the great info here. I was really thrilled to meet with some Nissan folks, and I'll probably try to get some of them on camera as well. They really know their stuff here. So let's go on a tour. Let's go experience this thing. I think we'll start in the back, work our way to the front, look at space, and then we'll get into battery capacity, range, charging, all that stuff. All right, walking our way to the rear. This is really my first time seeing it along with you guys. I just got out of a little presentation, and I have to say a huge thank you to the Nissan folks for honestly being extremely transparent and very knowledgeable on the electric stuff. I was a little bit surprised because you guys know I just made a video about the Aria saying how the first thing the nav shows you is like a gas station search. But really, the people here get it, and there's so many nice upgrades for the Leaf that I think you will all appreciate. Nice deep storage wells on either side. The top spec comes with a NEMA 515 outlet here, 1500 watts. By the way, the new Leaf now has vehicle to load, so it can do 3.4 kilowatts out of the J port through a little thing, or combined with a couple of these outlets that are found in the top spec model. And that's pretty cool. Not like vehicle to home, vehicle to grid stuff, but just being able to power 3 kilowatts worth of electricity, of, you know, loads, toasters, refrigerators. If you have a power outage at your house, just run a couple extension cords. That's nice. Love that. This is interesting. So we've got a, like, strapped down. I can't even imagine what this would be used for. Okay. Interesting little cargo shelf here that seems removable, which is great. And then does this pop up? Yeah. So you can do a flat floor, or you can go for sort of this situation. Let's fold the seats. We got to see what that's like, right? So let's pop that down. Leafs are meant to be practical, usable vehicles. Again, I use mine to run around town a bunch. I've done Home Depot runs, and I would say this has comparable, if not more, room. I was a little bit worried because it looks almost like a lifted sedan more than a hatchback now with the sloping rear. By the way, I do think it looks really good, and especially in that blue color over there. You can see Jessica standing next to that one. Looks great over there in that color. But I'm really thrilled with this space. Now, the top spec model does come with this electrochromatic roof. You can see half of it is tinted there and half is open. They leave the Leaf open always so it can shine like a light that spells Leaf on the seat, which is a nice little touch. Really nice and roomy back here, and a power trunk even in the Leaf now. So again, meant to be an entry-level model. I'm guessing base price around $30,000 for the smaller 53 kilowatt hour battery pack. There's a 53 and 74 kilowatt hour pack. Let's try the back seats. This is what I've been really curious about. Wow. Pretty great knee room. That's a Leaf thing as well. CMF, this platform that's built on, allows for great rear seat room. Top spec, again, heated rear seats, USB-C, another NEMA 515 port right there, which is great. And overall, I'll flip the camera around, but decent headroom. So I'm 6'1" or 1.86 m, and you can see I have just enough headroom to kind of fit my hand here, and I could always slouch on a trip. It's totally serviceable and fine, and honestly would make a great Uber. Leafs, again, these are working vehicles. They've got to be inexpensive. They just need to do everything, and I think this back seat is more than spacious enough considering where we're coming from. I've even got a little double cup holder situation, and really loving this glass roof. Now, I wouldn't recommend most people to go for this sort of platinum top spec, whatever they're going to call it. I would say go for the SV model. I'm actually going to walk you through the model range right now from the back seat. So the Leaf will come in 3 major trim models with 2 battery options. So base model, again, we don't have pricing yet, is going to be a 53, 54 kilowatt hour NMC pack. They're all prismatic cells, and that's going to be a pretty low voltage pack. They basically take the big 74 kilowatt hour pack, remove some of the cells out of them, and it's going to be like high 200 volt nominal, something like that. They do need 500 amps while charging. So that's going to be really interesting to see how they get up to their 130, 150 kilowatt DC charging speeds. And is that too nerdy? Stay for the rest of the video because we're getting into more of that stuff. But you've got your S standard battery. That's going to launch 6 months after start of production. So early 26 would be my guess. Starting in fall of 25, you will have the S Plus, which is the 70 plus kilowatt hour pack, 300 and something miles of range. Pretty good. I'll leave that linked right here, the range figures. Then you get 18-inch Steelies with a cover in that car and some other standard equipment. Again, I'll make sure all of that makes it in the video. I just don't have it on hand. The next trim up will be the SV, which is going to be the model that most people are probably going to buy. It comes with some like nice features. It actually comes with the bigger screens and Google built in and route planning and navigation. Standard car does not come with navigation. There is manual battery heating though. So if you live in an apartment and rely on DC charging, you'll probably know your like local charging station and you can manually precondition the battery on the way. Fantastic upgrade. And then, there's like the top spec model, the Platinum, which I'm sitting in now. That comes with the cool glass roof above my head and a bunch of other stuff that I really don't think you need. I think SV is the way to go. Or honestly, wait for the base car. 50 plus kilowatt hours is a ton, especially if the car is going to be pretty efficient for city driving. You really don't need more. Well, that's a little bit from the back seat. Let's jump up and talk charging stuff before we jump into the front of this car. So the first thing that you'll notice is you have a NACS port, native NACS. I mentioned it to you in the beginning of the video. Awesome. Again, it's a 500 amp request. They say it'll hold 500 amps for about 10 minutes, which is pretty juicy. And so I'm excited to see the charging performance. They say about 10 to 80 in just over half an hour, which I think is totally acceptable. Again, base car, we're talking $30-ish thousand range for the big battery option. So I think that's going to be totally acceptable. And it looks to be, you know, pretty nice inlet port. I've never seen NACS with this little slot, but that works pretty well. I think there's a little light under there as well, perhaps. That's nice. This is the problem. DC fast charge only. So this does not do AC charging. And this is where I think the only problem with the Leaf comes up. And I really can't figure out why they would do this. I mean, I'll explain why they did this, but you have to AC charge it with J1772. So imagine you roll up to a Tesla wall connector AC, you plug it in. The car's going to alert you and say, hey, you can't use that for AC charging. You've got to use this. Now, they've told me a bunch of different excuses like, oh, we think a lot of existing EV owners will have their J plug and it's safer to not use an adapter. And what it really came down to was the decision for NACS happened so late in the development cycle for this car. They agreed to go with native NACS as per the Tesla, supercharger access. So this has plug-in charge with Tesla supercharging, not at the discounted membership rates. I'm actually pretty sure Tesla doesn't allow that, which is really annoying. So if you're a heavy supercharger user, you actually wouldn't use plug-in charge. You would have to activate in your app first, get your membership rate, then start charging. Not the end of the world. That's more of a Tesla problem more than Nissan. Nissan's like, hey, we want to do it. Tesla just won't let us. Same with Rivian, same with others. So that's kind of annoying. So that's totally fine. But I just, for the life of me, can't figure out why they didn't put a switch AC and DC on this line and then still offer J1772. What they told me was maybe in the future they'll do that, maybe for a mid-cycle refresh or something. This whole NACS thing happened so late in the development cycle. There weren't really suppliers that offered AC and DC on the same line. I mean, Lucid was able to do it with the Gravity, but that's a small, nimble, fast company. This is Nissan we're talking about here. I think we're lucky just to have the NACS port. But for home charging, you need a separate plug. Now, Mercedes CLA is going to have something like this as well. And I think this is the wrong move. I think this is going to confuse people to the max. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Having J1772 and NACS on the vehicle, J3400, totally confusing because this is for AC, that's for DC. It's actually a bit of heritage for the Leaf to have a dual port for dual purpose. A lot of you guys will know that the Nissan Leaf up to this point has a J1772 for AC charging and CHAdeMO still for DC charging. So if you're a Leaf customer, I guess you're used to having two ports, but this port supports AC charging on most every vehicle. I just think it's crazy how this is for DC only. Let me know what you think. Anyway, we'll move on from that, but that's really the only major problem I can see with the Leaf for now. So again, charging performance on DC, about 150 kilowatt peak, 10 to 80 in 33 minutes. I think totally acceptable. They say it's a pretty flat curve. It's designed for repeated DC fast charging, especially if you don't have home charging. This thing can handle it. And there are some great EV specific apps where you can limit your charging to less than 100% every day, which you could never do on Aria or Old Leaf, which is awesome. So you can actually set it from 40 to 100% limit in 5% increments. Great. And then the AC charging will be 32 amps, which is totally fine. I don't think you need more than 32 amps for a battery of this size, especially if you're going for the mid 50 kilowatt hour pack, low 50 kilowatt hour pack. That's perfect. 74 kilowatt hour as well. 32 amps. I'd like to see a 40 or 48 amp charger. Not a big deal, especially when they're really trying to get the price point low on this thing. So I mentioned the platform is CMF underneath. I'm going to pop the hood and show you what's going on under here, and we can talk a little bit about the new motor and inverter and drive system in this vehicle and some other intricacies as well. Guys, take a look under the hood. So there's no front trunk here. They moved all the HVAC, everything out of here, and that's to really give you honestly, I would say a really huge space in here. Look at how much room you have in this thing. And this is also a benefit of using CMF, but really, I think that's totally acceptable. People were not expecting a front trunk on this vehicle. And there are some interesting things going on in here. First of all, it's front drive. So front drive only, no all-wheel drive on offer for the Leaf, which is totally fine. Most people, even in Canada, one of the most popular markets for the Leaf, people just run studded or just hardcore winter tires. Shout out Nokian. And they love cold weather. The first gen and second gen Leafs were really the cockroaches of the EV world, other than the one example we had. But this thing is designed for cold and hot, and I'm really happy to see liquid thermal management making it to the Leaf. So you've got a coolant loop for the battery pack. Yes, liquid cooled battery in a Leaf. Hallelujah. Hell yeah. And then you've also got your motor and powertrain and heat pump for the internal HVAC as well, and everything can heat scavenge. All the loops intercross with each other, so waste heat from the motor can go to heating the cabin or heating the battery, and everything is linked, which is awesome to see. Really thrilled with that. They really went for maximum efficiency here. And you've got onboard charger, inverter, new motor down there, which looks pretty interesting. Made in China. This car is produced in Japan, by the way, so it is not a US production. I don't know what that means for tariffs. We don't have pricing. We probably don't have pricing on this because they don't know, would be my guess. Apparently, the US is responsible for like 20-25% of Leaf sales. So all the tuning was actually done. The engineering development of the new 4-link rear suspension that CMF offers, and all the ride comfort and noise performance, which they say it's going to be really quiet. I can't wait to drive it later on this year. Everything, all of that was actually done in the US, which is really interesting. So it's optimized for American roads, but it is the global setup as well. So the Euro cars, the Japanese cars will all use the same setup like we have here. So anyway, that's the front trunk. I'm kidding. That's under the hood. There ain't much to see here. 12-volt battery. They did fix all the 12-volt battery drain issues that the Aria had. That's all been solved. Really, the big news for me is what's going on in the front seat. So I'm going to jump over to that car that Jessica's filming, show you the interior lighter color, and show you all the software stuff, because there's some really nice menus in there, which is a massive upgrade from the previous Leaf. Dang, guys. Even Jessica likes this thing. You want to tell the viewers, are you into this thing?
I really like it. I hate to use the word cute, but I think it's adorable. It's cute. The proportions are fantastic. I think it takes all the good stuff of the Aria, and in this smaller wheelbase looks really great. Totally agree. And if they can get the price to like 30,000 plus or minus, that's going to be the jam. Seriously, this very competitive in step above base, 303 miles of range for around 30 grand. That is huge. Absolutely. Totally agree. I think this is going to be a huge seller. I mean, the first generation Leaf sold like over 1 million units. Can't remember exactly, but a ton. Yeah, they hit a huge milestone. Yes. Yeah. And that was pretty early on. It's been over 1 million for a while. And I think this kind of has it for the second run. This is cool. I could absolutely see this being somebody's first car. 100%. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And there's finally good tech in there. Like, it's got route planning. That's the biggest thing. The route planning is huge. Granted, it is only on the higher level trims. True. The base trims don't get it, but it's still really, really good route planning. Yeah, totally agree. It's fantastic. Yeah, they know what's up at Google, and the GM cars have that too. And I think it's a great first time car or first time EV car. The only thing that I think is going to confuse people is the dual port. It might, yes, but I think the people who do own Leafs, which is kind of why they've done this, or other electric vehicles that benefit, I do hope that this helps them, right? They've already have the charger at home, in their house, but now they can use that, and they can use Tesla superchargers. Yeah, that's a great point. So, and they were using Chatamo before on the old Leaf. So for existing Leaf owners, not a big deal. They're going to be thrilled to ditch Chatamo. Yeah, I think so, for sure. Well, shout out to Motor Week and shout out to Jessica for joining the video. We did our Macan drive together, if you guys watched that video, in France. This is annoying that it shows the direction of the seat every time I move it on the screen. I'm pretty sure you can turn that off, but I just don't know why you would need to know what direction you're moving, because obviously I can tell I'm moving forwards. And it blocks like everything I'm looking at on the screen. Anyway, this all looks pretty familiar. We got twin 14-inch screens. I have no idea what the base screens will look like. As soon as I can film a base Leaf, I will, I promise. But you can see here we've got, let's see how this all works. A little scroll wheel. We can go left and right. Okay, so we're going to go through all that in a second, but I would just want to show you, well, let's talk front seats really quick. Nice, sort of leather-free material that won't wrinkle, they say, which is great. It's got perforations, not cooled, just heated seats. They've got some Bose
speakers in the headrest. Again, top spec model here. I do love this interior, this sort of bluish color or purplish color on this cream. I think this looks great. This huge amount, 60-something% of interior materials are recycled. Really, really nice in here. Although I don't think it's worth spending up for a top spec on a Leaf. This is supposed to be kind of an entry-level car. I think you just keep it base, maybe get the big battery if you need the range now, because it can actually do a road trip with the big battery. I really don't think you need to go crazy on the spec. So I was hoping that they would have a standard model here. Also, you only get automatic windows on the driver's side, I'm noticing. Huh, that's annoying. But it is double pane glass. How about that? That's pretty cool. So double pane glass. Down here, we've got some buttons, lane departure stuff. This does have Pro Pilot Assist, so it has lane centering. I'm unsure if it's standard. Don't know, but you do have your ports on to turn your inverter on, heated steering wheel, trunk, auto hold, and your parking brake, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let's go into here. First of all, route planning. A Leaf has never had this. Aria didn't have this, nothing. So I'm going to put in home, Fort Collins, Colorado. Boom. Let's see what it does. Boom. So it's got that. It says we're going to run out of juice in Las Vegas. It's finding charging stops, and it's mapped our route. Something so basic, so minimal, you would think, so hard for owners to figure out how to do this. So I'm really glad there's at least some route planning in here. Now, if you're a nerd, can you optimize on this? Absolutely. But I'm really glad to see this in there. And it's routing you automatically through all the Tesla superchargers and one EV gateway in Grand Junction. Okay, interesting. But absolutely love that it automatically routes with Tesla superchargers. You can do plug-in charge. So like if you don't care too much about the cost, if you're an older person or you're buying this for, you know, an older parent and they can't figure apps out, you just pay a little bit more, do plug-in charge, and don't worry about it. I think it's a fantastic option. You can also set your route options. I had it in there earlier. It's the same as other Google systems where you can essentially set your state of charge on arrival, but you cannot set your state of charge at charging stations. So you can say like, hey, I want to get to Fort Collins with 1% state of charge or 5% state of charge, but I wish I was able to set I don't remember exactly where it is in here, but I wish I could set the state of charge at arrival at all of the charging points along. Anyway, huge, massive deal that we have EV route planning built into the Leaf with on-route battery preconditioning. That is so great. And I'm really, really thrilled to have that. There's also this app tile that will bring in all the apps. I think this is pretty ugly, but again, that's fine. You can get wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, all that stuff to fill this in if you want. But you do have an EV menu. Now, this is where you get your manual battery preconditioning and your charge limit. So you can set your charge limit here down to 40% for storage, 50% for like daily driving, 80% for daily driving, whatever you want, or to 100. Nissan actually doesn't recommend anything. They say just pick what you want. We've designed a pretty hardy battery in here, but customers do want to prevent against some degradation, and you are able to not full charge it all the time, which is great. But again, being liquid cooled, you actually now have battery cooling assist in a Leaf, which you should just leave on all the time. If you turn this off, it just makes the fans a little bit less quiet. In hot weather, you might get some slower charging. This is like a weird Japanese thing where they have a decibel limit while charging at night. The US cars, honestly, they should remove that. So leave that on all the time. And then there's manual preconditioning. So I can turn that on right there, and you can see it's going to take 5 minutes to get the battery temperature to optimal. This is awesome, especially for the base car that doesn't have nav or on-route battery preconditioning, or if you're heading to a place where you just want to warm the battery up a little bit, boom, you can do it right there, and it will tell you your max charging power. Now, this is a pre-production car, so it may not have it totally dialed yet, but maybe one day soon. Absolutely thrilled to see that there. Another thing that's great for the super nerds out there is you can actually set your maximum amperage limit now. It's a 32 amp onboard charger. So if you're charging on a shared circuit or just want it to charge slower, you know, for example, if you're at a hotel with idle fees, you just want to time it to complete at 100% right at the limit, boom, you can do it right there. Fantastic, fantastic feature there. Ambient lighting, there's YouTube in here. This is like a Google-based system, so you can get the Google Play Store and download Spotify and plug share and a better route planner and whatever else you want to put in here, which is great. In terms of climate menus, let's figure out what we have for that. So I can click heated seat, heated steering wheel, which is great. You can do a driver-only HVAC, which is also wonderful. And then you've got just some normal touch buttons here to adjust your you know, temperature and also, you know, HVAC. I think that's awesome. And you just go boom, climate control off. Simple, easy, nice. Absolutely love that. I think this is a huge upgrade. When we get a production car, I'll go, you know, deeper into all this, but you've even got like a preconditioning menu, boom, right there on the screen. How sick is that? They really have learned what customers want out of their cars. Now, if we go into this screen over here, this is all pretty similar to most Nissan models. I'm sure you guys will recognize many of these items here. So let's just see. We've got, okay, cool. Charge information, 150 kilowatt there. If you were to charge a DC charger, 12 minutes to 100%. Max charge rate it shows you, and then your current charging rate. So if you're limited by the charger, that's a cool feature. And your battery capacity. Nissan's always been very good about showing your battery health, especially for the early Nissan Leafs with bad thermal, or no thermal management. They were frying after time. We've done many videos on that, and we'll have many more to come. All your typical, you know, efficiency graphs and different ways to display your power, and this has just got everything you could want. Great driver assistance. Honestly, it's pretty good highway driver assistance with this ProPilot. My understanding is ProPilot 2.1 is not going to be on the 2026 model year, but may come on 2027. Also, a little fun fact for you guys. They told me the Aria for 2027 is going to get NACS. So it'll have, I think, a similar setup. I really hope they figure out how to do AC and DC on this port by 2027, so fingers are crossed for that. I think they can still offer the J port for AC charging, but this should be able to do both. And so, but at least for 2027, Aria will have native NACS, and we will be good to go there. So wow, a huge upgrade over the previous car. Just a super nice package. I really hope the price is in check. If this is expensive, you know, just ignore everything I'm saying. But if they can really keep, you know, their volume model with a big battery, I think in the mid to high $30,000 range, when you spec the 74 kilowatt hour and the SV, some of the niceties, if that could be like 37, 38 grand, I think they are going to have an absolute killer on their hands here. And also, I think it's going to be fantastic for the lease deals. 830 pounds of payload. This thing weighs just under 4,000 pounds with the small battery. So I'm guessing just over 4,000 pounds with the bigger battery. And overall, a really, really nice upgrade for the Leaf. I'm actually genuinely excited about this car. I think it's the nail on the head, which is something I haven't said about a Nissan product maybe ever, or at least not in a long time. This is really, really good. Jeff, welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've been with Nissan for a long time.
17 years.
And you're really responsible for the electric cars here, right?
Yes.
So third generation Leaf, dude, this is exciting.
It is. It is. We've learned a lot over the last 15 years, and we really understand what our customer wants and what they don't want. And I think we've delivered that on this vehicle.
Yeah, I think it's funny. We sat in a presentation earlier, and a lot of the comments around, you know, the SV being the high volume trim with the 75 kilowatt hours?
75, yep.
And is that usable capacity?
Yes, that's usable.
Oh, great. Awesome. Good to hear. So I actually think the standard battery is going to be more than enough for most people.
It could. I mean, I think it depends on each customer's usage, right? If you're just using it as a commuter car, absolutely. The smaller battery will definitely work. But we do see a lot of customers want to take that road trip, have that, you know, that freedom to go 300 miles. So we offer that too. So yeah, I think we're covering all of our bases.
So I have to really ask, what happened with, you know, going from second gen Leaf to Aria, you know, going to the CMF platform? A lot of those changes made sense. Clearly, from my opinion, I know you can't say this, but the software wasn't optimized for EV in that car.
Yeah.
This is such a massive leap forward. So what changed internally to let you guys do this?
I think what we, again, is listening to our customers, right? Is we try to make a global vehicle, try to make it appealing to all the masses. And sometimes, you know, very interesting for EVs, you have this wide range of knowledge and what people want in an EV. So you have the EV experts that want all of that detail, all of that data, they want it on the screen. Then you want the, you know, the new EV owners that are very hesitant, very intimidated by everything. So trying to find that balance. And I think we've done that with this one. We've taken a lot of the information, you know, a lot of feedback from Aria, and we've really upgraded the infotainment system, giving a lot more information to the customers, making it a lot more usable.
Yeah, I mean, just having plug and charge with Tesla at launch with native NACS is huge. To have on-route battery preconditioning with route planning, it's the formula that every EV needs.
That's what we're hoping for, yeah. And I think it makes transitioning from an ICE vehicle to an EV very seamless, not a huge disruption to your life. So
Okay, that brings up my next question. I know you know where I'm going with this, because it's the first thing we talked about when I showed up today.
Yep.
What in the heck is going on here? Why do we have a J plug in 2025? Or 26, I should say.
So, the industry is going through the transition for between NACS and CCS. We still have a lot of customers. We still know J1772 is a predominant public charging. We know we have a lot of customers that have EVSEs at home already. So we wanted to make this an easy transition. We kind of compare it to like USB-A, USB-C.
Yeah.
So we gave customers both options. So right now with J1772, not a huge disruption. We do anticipate in the future NACS will be the predominant charging protocol. But right now we're in this kind of transition phase. So that's why we're offering both. So.
Yeah, so maybe mid-cycle refresh, something. We'll see this maybe go away.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think from my perspective, and I know we talked about this as well, I'm okay with the J-plug being on there. I just wish the NACS port wasn't locked to DC only.
Yes, and that's something we looked again at what we have in the public charging landscape. NACS destination chargers aren't as popular as, volume-wise as J1772.
Fair point.
But in case somebody does plug in, we do have countermeasures in place so that customers will be notified if they do plug into the wrong type of plug.
Yep.
With NACS, but we anticipate most people are going to use superchargers, and we see that with Aria now. But now with the native NACS, no need for adapters. We think it's the best of both.
And choosing this side for native NACS makes all the sense in the world, because it's technically the native location.
Yes.
Now at a V3 supercharger, you are going to have to pull up pretty close.
You are, and that's with everybody that we see, every benchmark we've done, you got to pull up pretty close. But
hopefully Tesla will start retrofitting V4 dispensers at more sites.
Yeah, make it much more usable. But we do know V3s, there's going to be a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
And so putting in this location makes it a lot easier to reach with those shorter cables.
Yep, you just nose in, and that actually works really well. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about, because we haven't had the opportunity to drive it yet, is what's it like to ride in this thing?
I think it still has the original Leaf DNA, right? It's got that peppiness. It's easy to drive. The thing that we really have optimized in here is the thermal management. Yeah. So you really are going to see the same driving performance, cold weather, hot weather. Doesn't matter.
That's amazing.
But again, that zippy, fun to drive. You can beat anybody off the line with this thing still.
Yeah, well, that's going to be amazing. I mean, it seems like, you're going to get a ton of range. Even if you spec up all the way here with the big wheels, you're still deep over 250 miles, which is great.
Yep.
I think, I've been preaching base car all the way. I think that's the way to do it. Steelies with the cover.
Yeah.
Over 300 miles of range, dude, on a Leaf. That's awesome.
I know. It's exciting times.
And I got to ask you as well, because I haven't mentioned it in the review. So very similar to Aria, this isn't going to have iPedal, it'll have e-step or e-pedal.
Correct.
It's the brings you to a couple miles an hour.
Yeah, with e-step and auto hold, we're getting as close to one pedal as possible. We think that's a good balance. And we also have regen shift paddles, so that allows people to, based on personal preference, set that regen level to what they like.
And there's also a B mode if you just want to max it out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. But yeah, I wish, and I mentioned this as well, I wish we could have one pedal as an option, just for those, few nerds, EV driving nerds out there.
I know.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly. Brake pedal's still blended, so drivers can choose any regen mode, they'll get the same efficiency.
Exactly. We gave customers a lot of options on which mode they want in this vehicle, so it's all personal preference.
Very cool. Well, as you know, I'm a Leaf guy. It's funny to say that, but the car was so pivotal to the EV movement. This car does the next generation of really good service.
Yes.
I wish this was the second gen and not the third gen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's still finally, I think if this is going to be someone's first EV experience, they're actually going to have a great time with it.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping we deliver with this vehicle.
Well, congratulations on the upgrades. I'm really thrilled with it.
Yeah, we're happy to have you out today. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. The new Nissan Leaf. I think a massive improvement over the previous generation. I think a massive improvement over Aria as well in general. That software experience seals the deal. Native NACS, I think, is great, even though it is just for DC charging. I love the fact that you can give this to a new driver, say, just charge at Tesla superchargers, plug in, and they'll be able to get around. The range is great, 303 miles on the 75 kilowatt hour pack. I still think you can go small pack and be fine. I can't wait to show you a base car when that comes, so we'll be showing you a standard option as soon as possible. And I think Nissan kind of got the mojo back for the Leaf here. The first product was such a revolutionary vehicle. I mean that totally sincerely. And now I feel like this is worthy of having the Leaf badge. This could really change the game if they get the price right. Thanks so much for watching an Out of Spec Reviews video, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.